letting in the Taiwanese daughter of a private equity billionaire is not diversity.
There is a professor over at NYU who's not completely insane. We've shown you a few videos of him recently. I'm talking about Scott Galloway. He is a liberal. He is an old school liberal, yet he is able to acknowledge what the problems are with the left and how DEI has destroyed so much of what true liberalism is all about. I don't know if he will vote the right way. I hope to encourage him to do so, and we're working on getting him on the show. We were going to have him last week, but there was a little conflict of interest or conflict of scheduling, but here he is.
In 1960, there were 12 blacks at Princeton, Yale, and Harvard combined, right? That's a problem. Race-based affirmative action made sense back then. The academic gap between black and white was double what it was between rich and poor. 60 years on, and this is a wonderful thing, 51% of Harvard's freshman class is non-white. But here's the problem. 20% of those come from dual income parent homes that are in above average income homes. So letting in the Taiwanese daughter of a private equity billionaire is not diversity. And this is another sign of our progress. In America today, you'd rather be born non-white or gay than poor. So I think we need to recognize our victory and our progress, but then figure out a way to come together. Because DEI is causing a lot of problems. Because what has happened with DEI? People of color deserve advantage. They've been treated really poorly, right? Well, also the Japanese. We interned the Japanese in concentration camps. What about them? What about women? Think about all the shit women have taken. Well, what about gay people, for God's sakes? They've been persecuted. And we ended up with a construct, an expensive construct that has huge apparatus and people that can never be fired. You can never question it, or you're called a racist if you ever question DEI efforts, right? Where we're purposely advantaging 76% of the population. The only people we're not advantaging are the 24% of people in America applying to college that are white and male. So when you have an apparatus trying to advantage 76%, you're not advantaging them, you're discriminating against the 24%. So what's the solution? Affirmative action is an amazing thing. Republicans and Democrats all believe there are certain people with wins in their face that could use a hand up. The key is, and the thing that causes all the agita, is a misdirect. It's around, okay, who qualifies? The affirmative action should be based on color, and that color should be green. And by the way, this isn't new. The University of California since 1997 did away with race-based affirmative action and bases it on an adversity score. I'm the beneficiary of affirmative action. I was raised by a single immigrant mother who lived and died a secretary. My household income was never above $40,000. So they gave me something called Pell Grants. I couldn't have gone to college without affirmative action, and I think that's the model right now. Any visible characteristics we use for affirmative action creates a lot more problems than it solves. It creates resentment. And at universities, by the way, under the auspices of decrease my accountability and increase my compensation, leadership, ethics, sustainability, DEI, it is all bullshit that is nothing but student debt. We have decided that we are no longer centers of excellence, but we're agents of an orthodoxy, that we're social engineers. How f***ing arrogant. We're here to give you the skills so you can go do amazing research and create economic value and security for you and your family. But no, let's create these huge departments called leadership. I'm going to teach a kid how to be a leader or to be more ethical. I can't get my 13-year-old to make his bed, but I'm supposed to help a 27-year-old become more ethical. But here's the great thing about these departments. There's no measurable outcome, so they never get fired. Let's bring in these FIPS, formally important people, pay them $300,000 to $400,000 for benefits, and they'll teach leadership. And they basically get on stage and just talk about their war stories, about how amazing they are. And all it is student debt on young people. Get rid of all this bullshit. You want to have affirmative action? Take all that money and let in more kids. Let in more gay kids, let in more trans kids, let in more black kids, let in more single mothers, let in more white kids from red states who happen to be Republican. 98% of Harvard's faculty is Democratic. That's diversity. So affirmative action is amazing. It should just be based on need and adversity, not these physical, observable characteristics that create a lot more problems than they solve. And instead of talking about who gets in, we should be talking about how many.
Okay, so you may not agree that there should be any affirmative action as it relates to anything, that the government should have nothing to do with anyone, helping anyone who's less economically privileged, let's say, or more. And I know if you're watching this, you certainly don't think it should have anything to do with race or anything else. But that would be what I would describe as a somewhat sane liberal position. And those are the people I am trying to bring over to our side, because that is the only way we're going to get to the promised land and fix so many of the issues that we discussed on the show today and on every other day.